My name is Lauren Miners. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Marketing at Reason One, and we are delighted to be sponsoring this track today. It's my honor to get to introduce our speakers, but just a quick note, Reason One is a full-service web development agency building websites for the future of healthcare. And I'm particularly interested in this topic because we do the same thing, so this is going to be really good. Please help me welcome our speakers today, Travis Waters, who is the Associate Digital Director, I'm reading that backwards, Associate Director of Digital Experience and Analytics for Vanderbilt Health, and Chris Rieger, COO of Modea. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, and excellent job pronouncing Rieger. And Modea, for that matter. Anything else you want to share about yourself, Travis, here before we get rolling?
No, let's jump in.
Okay. All right.
We didn't prepare for that part of it.
Feeling shy. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're excited to be here and share this presentation with you. Hope everybody's having a terrific conference so far. The title of this presentation is about website redesign. And this is what we're going to cover today. And I'll start out just by saying that the sort of traditional website redesign case study that you might expect to hear, where you come in, you hear from a healthcare organization that blew up their website and sort of soup to nuts, does a big case study. This is going to be a little bit different. And we're going to talk a little bit first about just the web at Vanderbilt. Travis, of course, is going to spend take most of that section. Just talk about the landscape there, talk about the platform, talk about the way that we work together in a continuous improvement model. We're also going to share a couple of examples. We are going to do some case study work today. We're going to share a couple of examples of recent work that we've done together as a partnership and talk a little bit about the why behind that work, the work that was done, and then the impact of that work. So we've got a couple examples there that we want to touch on. And then we're also going to talk about what's coming next as we think about the landscape of enterprise web at Vanderbilt. And I'm going to hand it off to Travis here.
Yeah. Hey there. I know probably most of you heard Vanderbilt, right? We are a large academic medical center in Middle Tennessee. And I'm not going to read all this, but we've done a lot of the community hospital acquisition lately. So that's been a big piece of us. We've been growing, trying to maintain our position in the market. Great transplant center, heart, cardiology, 3 million patient visits a year. So we're large, we're big. I know some of you are as well, but lots of complexity. Lots of pieces to put together and try and present that in a way that makes sense to the patients. So we're going to jump in. Yep.
So as I mentioned already, I want to start out by talking a little bit about the web landscape at Vanderbilt. I'm just going to take the first two of these slides and then hand it off to Travis. And wanted to start out by talking a little bit about the angle at which we approach digital products as a partnership and really taking a product vision is what we're calling it. So traditionally speaking, when we think about big web projects, just the way digital platforms are managed in our industry, historically speaking, there's very much a project mindset. And in this space, it's very much like we're going to start, we got to get this thing done for the business. We're going to do the work. We're going to get it done. There is going to be a done. There's going to be an ending. There's a lot of focus on did we get this work done? Did we get it done on budget? Do we accept this work? Are we happy with it? Those are not bad things. Those are good things. And typically, these projects are large in scale, like a big website redesign. And they have a lot of requirements. And there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of features, a lot of output. So this is more kind of like the one and done mentality, and more modern and progressive way, obviously, to approach digital. Many of you are hopefully doing this as well at your organizations, and how Travis and his team do it at Vanderbilt is much more of a product-centered mindset than a project-centered mindset, where it's really a continuous improvement model. We always want to be nurturing and enhancing and improving this really important customer platform, this really important asset for the organization as well. So there's a sharp focus on the customer here. What do they need? How well is this working? How well is it not working? What do we need to change to make it better? And we try to focus on our and really think about, what are the outcomes that we want to drive? What are the outcomes that we're driving for our customers? So as a result of that, this work is ongoing. We work together, Modea and Vanderbilt, in this continuous improvement model with this product mindset. And so our requirements are changing. They're dynamic as we progress, right? We think about the work, and we talk about this a little bit more in the next slide, but in smaller chunks. So I don't know, anything you want to add to this, Travis, before I keep rolling?
No, it's one of those, we'll talk about it. It's never done, right? The web, the digital ecosystem, it's never done. It's always evolving. So having that in the back of your head is really important here. And I think you said it best. It's continuous.
Yep. That can be hard to explain sometimes to other stakeholders that it's never done, but that is the right way to think about it. Quick question by show of hands. How many of you have heard of Scrum here in the room? Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, this is the digital track, right? So you've all heard of Scrum. So we operate together in a Scrum model. So this is using agile software development principles. And this is a diagram directly from scrum.org, from their website. So I won't go through this in exhaustive detail, but kind of thinking from left to right, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, we basically operate in a highly iterative, flexible model, starting with a product backlog that can be changed, right? New things come up all the time. New bugs need to be fixed. New features need to be developed. This code base needs to be updated, whatever it is. There's some new security risk that we need to solve for, whatever it is. And so that backlog is dynamic, but we basically plan and execute our work together in 2-week chunks called sprints. And so in this way, in this model, we are making continuous improvement at the end of every sprint. We, Modea, are demoing work for Travis and his team. And we're also planning the next sprint. And so it's sort of like laying the track down as we go, and we're always prioritizing together.
And I think
go ahead, Travis.
A lot of questions we get around this is, what does the team makeup look like, right? Who is involved on all the teams? So we've got an analytics team. We've got designers who are doing user research for us. We have web technical developers and engineers. We have the content team involved. We have
project management,
which is huge. Thank Corinne on Chris's team is fantastic. But you also have to figure out the mix of what do you want the vendor to do and what do you want an internal team to do and which FTEs. So we've gone back and forth. We've had internal web developers that reported up through our team, and then they may leave and get another job, and so we say, hey, Chris, can you give us another web developer? And he figures that out. And what we've learned is when you're hiring developers, they're very set sometimes on which language they're building it in, where they are, where using a vendor like Chris, they're a little bit more flexible than a giant academic medical center from a hiring perspective. So we've learned that along the way. We went to you for design. We switched design from in-house over to you guys. So it's been back and forth, and you've got to kind of figure out that mix of FTEs and what are you doing with the vendor versus what are you doing. But you still probably need all of those pieces for the most part. So,
well said. And I'm going to hand it off to Travis here.
Yeah. So when we started off with Chris, and even earlier than that, we started thinking about what does the future look like? Where is digital going? Where are the consumers? And right now we're in this, let's mention AI every 10 seconds. But you've got to think about that and which technology you're going to use, where are they going to fit, and what you're going to do to meet the consumer where they are. So ask yourself, right? Where are we as an organization from a support standpoint? What can we get out of our organization? But then also, where are the patients? And thinking about what they're using, right? I don't know how, right now, yes, AI is the big shiny thing, but how many of your patients right now are in there using it, or where are they going with it? Where is it going to be in their lives? How are they going to use it? So start thinking about those things when you start these big projects. So for us, we're probably somewhere in the middle, right? A little to the right of this as an organization. And we're also trying to set ourselves up for the future. It's funny, when we first built one of these, I think we had a picture of a TV and a toaster, right? That was going to deliver you wellness content as you're making your toast every morning. I have a friend who bought the refrigerator with the TV. I don't know how many people bought that. It now has very old pictures of their children and their dogs and has never changed, and it's sitting out in their garage. So we've made some changes in what consumer expectation is. Again, did the consumer really need a TV in their toaster or their refrigerator at the time? So that's technology getting ahead of the consumer and where they are. So that's my little soapboxes of one of my little soapboxes. So when we think about, again, the goals of our digital properties and our websites, number one, meeting the customer where they are, right? How are they searching? What are they looking for? Can we meet them in the places that they're looking? And at least start there. So again, we started with the Google, right? We have a ton of organic traffic. Do we have the content for what they're searching for? Number two, this is my big goal, is when they come to your site, we are a highly specialized academic medical center. We deliver quaternary care for some of these people. They are scared. They don't want that, hey, I'm buying a widget on Amazon, right? The last thing that got delivered to my house were little rubber golf tees, right, for my son. They're not searching for golf tees. They're scared. They have a diagnosis. They've been told to go see a specialist. They're self-diagnosing and scaring themselves. And we've seen that. So as you're building out your content and your site, have a little empathy for where they are and what they're doing, and kind of think about that. And our third piece is making it easy for them to get an appointment. Once they are ensured that we can take care of them, get them to make an appointment. So those are the big, hairy goals for the website. And so what we mean in our website world, our consumer website world, our three main sites. We have an adult site, children's site, convenient care site. And we deliver these using the same technologies. They're different brands. They're different possible experiences where you are. Our convenient care site is not branded as Vanderbilt because of joint ventures and all kinds of TMLA exceptions that we have to watch for. So that's why that site is not branded Vanderbilt, but you kind of have the imagery, the children's, the adult, whatever that is, to try and reach those goals. So how we do that, and getting a little techie here, is through our headless technology stack. So we use Drupal as a CMS on the back end, and the reason we use Drupal is because of the flexibility it has given us. We come up with some crazy idea, usually mine, and of how to solve a problem, we can do that with Drupal. And what that means is our content layer and our front end layer and our content layer are totally separate. So they're hosted on different sites. You can theme them differently. You can brand them differently. You can deliver a totally different experience with the same exact content coming out of a single location. So if you have any questions, find me afterwards. But this is really important for us because we were trying to imagine the future, right? How do you get the content into the toaster was kind of our thinking at the beginning, and it was the headless model made sense because it was API first, distribution of that content to anywhere, right? So this is very, very simplified example of that. We have components on our site. Again, you can deliver a different experience, a different brand with the exact same content. And so we use the atomic design model, right? You put all the components together to build the page. Anything to add from the design side of the house? So this is, again, very, very basic headless example. But then what you can do is you can take that, you put all those components together, and you build a page, right? And this is supposed to scroll or go to the next page. There we go. But you can see, again, it's a difference of the brand, the experience, the design, you know, a little more fun when you get over to the children's side versus the adult side. But very, very similar experiences, but just different themes, different brands when you get there.
Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah,
I was going to just point out, Travis, I want to, and please feel free to comment, but one of the reasons that you all decided to go with, sorry, my mic keeps cutting out, the headless CMS architecture is you just have a ton of content. As an academic medical center, a lot of, multiple missions, lots of content, lots of websites too that need to be managed as you're highlighting. These are all, it would be common for many health systems to have one major customer-facing website. You have at least 3, right?
Yep.
And so managing all that content in a more efficient ways was a part of the decision, right?
We're focusing this on 3 sites. We have 600 plus in the whole ecosystem. So main consumer sites is really the focus of this. I can give you all the scary stories of 600 other sites some other time. Yeah. Yep. And we'll get into that a little bit. Yep. So when we built out those 3 goals for the site, meeting the consumers where they were, we knew we needed to do the basics first. We needed to have a way for consumers to find us when they're searching for providers, locations, service lines. But we also knew that consumers still search by conditions and treatments, and because, again, they want to know that you treat what they need. But we're also a giant system, right? We have taxonomies that are thousands and thousands of terms. So how do you use that and build that out without having your content editors and content creators leave? So we decided using our structured content in Drupal, and that's, again, another benefit of Drupal is having everything highly structured. And that was, again, if you want to talk to the toaster needs to know what the structure of the content is, right? So we have everything that is highly structured. Once we start putting all the pieces together, you can create and give consumers what they're looking for in that manner. So the 4 ways that we had determined is locations, providers, service lines, and conditions and treatments are how they're searching. So when we started off, we're highly service line driven organization. Consumers don't care about your service line mix and how you're built or whatever. They're searching for that one thing that they need. But we do have that services we offer in our service line structure and all of those information. And that's been the main piece of the site. Although we're flat, it's still highly driven by that service line. And we want to start getting away from that. Yep. So we did have a few of these pages around conditions and treatments. We had about 100 of them. It's a wall of text, right? There's no friendliness to it. There's no caring spirit about this kind of page. It is what it is. There's not even a CTA on this page, right? It's, okay, they got here. How do they make an appointment? What do they do? How do they handle that? And we had thousands of other terms. So this was how it was previously. And then, but we knew we had health library information. We knew that we had the taxonomy and the tagging and the structure. We knew the doctors that treated the conditions. We know where those doctors work. We know other programs and service lines that treat that. We have article content. Paul, I see you back there, connecting to this. So we wanted to bring all that together, right? And do it in an easy fashion to make sure our team didn't leave.
Hey, Travis.
Yep.
Trying a different mic, by the way. Hopefully this is better. I like it better already. So just making sure it's not lost. Starting point was 100 treatments and pages of each page dedicated to a specific treatment or condition, all manually created. But again, knew that that was the kind of content really customers needed to find you.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But the problem was needed to get from 100 to, I've only heard thousands. I don't know if there's a finite number. I guess it's always evolving, but had to get a lot more. Yep. That's a technical term. A lot more.
A lot more. And again, we were trying to meet the patients where they're searching, what they're looking for, and provide a little bit more information about what we do around that item. So we have, some tools. We have content out there, right? So we are now building out these pages. If I just hit play. There we go. Again, we have all the pieces, right? And now we're displaying them all on a single page. And it's a really nice search result page, right? Imagine somebody going on your site and using your search. These are the things that you want showing up. We're pulling content in for claims. We're showing information. We're showing articles. We're pulling all that together, and overnight, we released 1,000 new pages for this. So we went from 100 to 1,000, and now we're trying to figure out, okay, was that the right thing to do? What do we need to do next? There's people that want to add a lot more content to these pages, so we're trying to figure out how to do that right now. But this was the starting point, right, around that.
From a design perspective, there are a couple ways that we didn't just replace or mirror the manual, you called it a wall of text, pretty appropriate, I think, with an automated version of that using these claims articles. But as you can see here, embedded them into experiences that we knew would resonate with the customer, that we knew that they needed. And if keep me honest here, Travis, this I think is essentially like a program page. And this is one of the ways that we use this content, embedded it into the customer experience.
Yep. We have these pages that are linking now from provider profile pages, from the program pages that you mentioned, in search results, those types of things. And they're building it. And I know everybody's like, how many page views do you get? How many, how much volume or whatever that is? We know we have a finite, that's web basics, right? They're only going to come to your site for just a little bit of time. They may come back a few times, and they're only going to view, a page and a half per visit. So what can you do to keep them engaged, keep them on the site, ensure that you can take care of their needs? So this is just one of the ways that we measure the success, right? Is if people start a branded search with us, what comes up? How does it look? And I know Google is changing their search experience. They're coming out with new things. Carrie from Yext, I think, is talking about that later on. But right now, Google starts making those suggestions as you type, right? They're not even getting to the actual experience of a Google search page. They're telling you what to search. And I think it's going to continue that way. Safari, I'm a Mac guy. I use basic Safari. Safari's trying to cut Google out right now. Safari starts suggesting sites and domains for you before you even search Google. So think about that. Yes, it's good to be in Google, but you've got to get even ahead of that a little bit. So this is just an example of one of the pages that we put out, one of the first ones. We were having a campaign around Tepezza thyroid eye disease. Get past all the ads because everybody wants to do it, and you get right to the page. So Google suggested it, the first organic piece for us, popped up. That's success for us. We didn't have a knee pain page, right? An individual plain knee pain. We've run campaigns, we did things. We didn't have a page for just knee pain. We have a knee pain page. And our ortho guys really like it. So it works out for us. And they're all on those pages, all the ortho folks that treat knee pain, and they can find themselves. So that's success as a first step. There's more coming, but first success there.
Okay. So from here, what we wanted to do was, so as Travis covered, we were able to go from about 100 pages of conditions and treatments content that were very static, not very engaging, didn't really help customers take the next step in terms of finding and getting into the right care paradigm, to thousands of pages that, and we're still in the process of doing this. We've rolled out, I don't know how many we're up to now, Travis, but a lot more than 100.
Yeah, it's 1,400 now, probably.
Okay, so we're up to 1,400 now. There's further to go, but you could hopefully see from those scroll through videos just a lot better sort of nesting in the types of tools and actions that a customer would need when they're on this journey. So I want to talk through a little bit of the impact of this particular feature that we worked on together. And I'm just going to start at the top of the funnel and work my way down using some real data. So the first one here is just impressions in search. A big part of the hypothesis going into this particular feature was, if we have better content, if we have this content out there on our site, people are going to find us because we know this is the way that customers are thinking. This is the way our patients are thinking when they're looking for care. So here's some data. This is directly from Google Search Console. It's for Vanderbilt, the Vanderbilt Health website. You got two colors here. I'll just orient you a little bit because I've got 4 of these and they're all going to look very similar. The gray section here, this is the traffic that we have been getting through those 100 manual pages. These are the impressions in search that we've been getting per month for those manual pages that have been out there for, a long time, years, right, Travis?
Yeah.
A very long time. So they've been sitting there getting, have long been indexed and getting a lot of building up search value. And you can see that if you sort of follow the shape of the gray, like there's some ebbs and flows, but it's relatively steady in terms of the volume of search impressions, which is right around like 100 to 125,000 per month. And so this blue section represents, as we've been adding over the last year or more, these automated content pages, the impressions we're now getting from those pages as well. So you can see together the growth, and by the very beginning of this year, we were up to almost double that in terms of search impressions that we're getting. I think it's important to point out here, because you might be thinking, well, you had only 100 manual pages, but 1,300, 1,400 automated pages. Yeah. It takes time for those pages to be not just indexed, but to really have their page rank improved as well. And we are already seeing over time the average page rank of that content get better and better, which is exciting to see, and we expect that to continue. And Travis, feel free to jump in if you want to say anything at all.
No, we did a staged rollout of this as well. We put the pages on the site, we put it in the sitemap, didn't really see much traffic. Then we linked to the pages, and then we put, we kind of played around, to be honest, and tested what Google's doing right now, how they're playing with it, how they're changing their algorithm. So we learned a lot as well about how do you get things into Google, and what really makes an impact. Because you can look at a list of 10 things, right? And everybody needs to do this when dealing with search engines. Yeah. We played around with it, right? We tested.
Yeah. Yep. So continuing down, how many people are actually clicking on those results in search? Same exact kind of visual structure here. So the gray section are the manual pages. We were getting about, was that roughly like 200-ish clicks per month from those manual pages. And you can see that blue section obviously growing tremendously. They're getting a lot of clicks on a relative basis, at least. So by very beginning of this year, that was up to about 800 clicks per month. And this is as measured by Google Search Console data. Oh, go ahead, Travis. You're going to say something?
No, I was going to say, we don't worry much about volume coming to our websites. It's something where a lot of our services are full, right? And we just want to provide the best experience for those that come to the site. Is there growth here? Yes. But again, it's getting them to the right place at the right time on our site to help them make that decision to use us. So it's about the mix of the traffic and where we're directing them was our main goal here. Not volume growth, right? Not traffic growth. If we have a service that needs volume, we're running our Marketo campaigns and all of our tactics and paid campaigns to drive that volume. Our website is the source of truth for all of that, but we're using those tactics to drive volume. We're not necessarily pushing more and more. We never report out on website traffic volume and growth of volume in our organization.
So shifting gears here a little bit in the data. So this is now looking at actual website data from our website analytics.
When we had those, we're also dealing with the no analytics moment during this time. We were hoping to show more of that. But yeah, we had to rip all of our trackers off, like many of you did, and we're still kind of dealing with that at the moment.
But before you did, we got some good data.
We did have good data.
So this is looking at web sessions on VanderbiltHealth.com that came from organic search and started from one of these treatments or conditions pages. So by the way we're thinking about it as a partnership, this is traffic that we would not have unless those pages were out there being indexed, being needed, and pulling customers in to come to us to find care. So again, you can see the growth here from, you see the very sort of, I think that first left edge of the chart is December 2022. We were combined just over 2,000 sessions, and that's up to about 5,000 sessions by the end of 2023. So that hypothesis feels proven to us in that if we do this work, even with automated content that we didn't write bespoke, right, by our in-house content team, we're actually bringing more people into the system. And then this last one is appointments, and specifically looking at appointment clicks from the website. There's some seasonality here for sure, so I'll just acknowledge that. But we're seeing a much larger, again on a relative basis, a much larger volume of clicks and intent to schedule an appointment now that we have these automated content pages in place as well, which is really exciting. Anything else you want to add here, Travis, before we roll forward?
No, we're good.
All right.
I think we got more on appointment clicks and how that plays out next. Yep.
So turn over to Travis. We're just going to do a really short sort of second piece we're going to talk about is a brand update. We'll let Travis set that up.
Yep. So when we started with Chris and Modia 7 years ago, we knew we wanted to build a site, again, that was never done, but it was easy to refresh, easy to work on the branding, and we've gotten in this cycle of every 3 years, we refresh the theme, the brand of these sites. It doesn't mean that we're rewriting all the content. It doesn't mean that we're changing all of the layouts, but it does mean that we're trying not to be stale, right? And we're going to show some things. When our adult site first launched, we had the gradients, right? Everywhere you went, there were gradients everywhere. I went to an Amazon conference, and it was one of those big giant rooms, and the whole thing was just wrapped in this purple to red gradient. And that's what we put on our website. So now that looks a little dated, right? So you don't want your site to look dated. You want to keep that refresh going. And so we're in this 3-year cycle. And again, Chris's team has great designers on it, and we work with them really closely. We work really closely with our internal brand team as well to make sure that we're staying on brand and doing what they're doing and what we're doing on other digital properties and making sure it all works and it's cohesive and has that same digital experience across all of our properties. So.
Yeah, I would just add that, hearkening back to the way that we work together, right? Ideally, we never want to have to blow up the website, right, Travis? Like, that is the goal, right? The goal is to continually iterate and improve. And what you're going to see is a redesign, at least from a brand sense, right? In that we're, as Travis communicated, we're retheming, but we're able to do it because of the way that we think about the web. That product vision approach, that product-centered approach, I think is really important to this. So the first thing we're going to do here is actually play a short video. Do you want to set this up real quick, Travis?
Yeah, this is a little bit of, we're lucky to be in Nashville, right? There are pieces of our brand and community relations that we really cling on to. And so we reflect that in our brand, and we want that to show through. And this is just a quick example of something that was put together by our brand team.
Okay, so,
I just want to say, there's a great piece with Dolly Parton and our children's dog that's at the hospital. You should all go look it up. It's fantastic.
That's your homework after the session. Dolly Parton and the...
Go watch the Dolly Parton video. It'll just warm your heart. And it's hilarious because in Dolly's own way. I've never met her, so don't come ask if I can make an introduction. My big boss can. So
I didn't know that.
Talk to Stuart. But yeah.
So I know this is the interactive strategies track. I'm going to ask you to put your brand marketer hats on for a moment. We've all got one, so you got to dust it off for a minute. So as Travis mentioned, and you're going to see it here in a moment, but we wanted to share this video because I think it represents the sort of brand image that Vanderbilt is putting forward right now. It's new in some ways. And if you think about sort of the brand essence you're seeing come through in this video, it's high focus on reputation, clinical prowess. That music is intense. It's one of the things. I'm a former musician, so that always hits me. And so, there's a real sort of, they're really putting forward, Vanderbilt does, performs world-class medicine. We save lives. We're good at what we do. We give great care here, right? There's just a really strong. I think it really just brings about a certain sort of to use a technical term, there's a vibe here of what Vanderbilt's putting forward, right?
And there's no gradients.
And there are no gradients. So here's where we're coming from, and this is this is just going to be another scroll through for you. So this is just looking through the lens of the homepage. Everything's pretty clean and well laid out. Maybe a little bit hard to see in this washed out light, but there's some vibrancy there with the red and some of the other colors that are used. Travis mentioned the gradients and some things that were very trendy for a while. Kind of hard to tell, but there's a lot of texture in some of these images, and just the feeling was just this just doesn't feel right with where we're going from a brand perspective. So what we were able to do very efficiently as part of our ongoing working process was visually redesign the site, look at colors, look at typeface certainly, but also look at just details like drop shadows and buttons and edges and just things, just like what is going to feel right and more aligned with that brand that we're putting forward now. So here's the new homepage that we've rolled out, and I'll just let you just sort of digest it as it scrolls through. And it's a little bit more flat. It's a little bit more candidly neutral in color. Still feels clean, still feels modern, still provides the same level of engaging content, but really it feels a little bit more professional and a little more connected to the brand image that Vanderbilt is putting out as well. So for us, those were kind of the outcomes, and I'll just touch on what Travis said earlier, which is his goal, the team at Vanderbilt's goal, is to be looking at the visual design, the theme of these websites, minimum every 3 years. It's just part of our ongoing improvement process.
Yeah, and from a technical standpoint, it gives a chance for some of the developers to clean up some things that may be old, prepare for the next update that we know is going to come, say, from the children's site. They did some work there as well, but it was minimal from a tech, what gets changed, CSS layer, display layer, but it was a change, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. So Travis is going to share in 5 to 8 minutes a little bit about what's next, and in particular, focus on scheduling.
Yep. So I mentioned the 3 goals. We always go back to those. The third goal was the conversion piece, right? So we're doing a good job now. We've got the new pages. We're meeting people where they're searching. Our content is assuring that we can take care of them. The third goal is getting them to make an appointment, right? You still want them in there converting and getting an appointment with us. So we knew we had to make that better. We needed to work on the actual conversion piece. Back when we had data, we knew that we had around 10 clicks to every scheduled appointment. We were matching it back, doing the math there. It's a little low. What we hear from industry is it's 13 to 20% from this. It depends on what tool and what solution you're using. Right now, we are building out epic decision trees. So we're trying to work with our Access Center to make sure that we are passing folks into those decision trees efficiently, setting expectations, and hopefully getting this number to go up as we go. So once we get more analytics, I can come back and tell you all how that went. But how we're going to do that too is we're maximizing integrations. So we have all these pieces. We have, the Adobe products. We've got the Microsoft products. We've got Workday. We're doing nurse recruitment, like a lot of folks, trying to get people in. We have some great content in other places that we want to pull in, connect. We send data off. We use that headless system really well. We have data coming in. We have data going out. And this is just a small portion of it, but again, it connects back to our Drupal headless environment, which helps drive all of these pieces and these integrations. So we really want to just maximize those. Again, focusing on that conversion aspect, it's the epic decision tree. So in our current state, we have Refine a Doc, we have profile pages. They all have Make an Appointment. We've had roughly 8 different online appointment scheduling solutions over the years that have come and gone. Again, the Access Center is really focused on this epic decision trees. But that current state, they select a provider, they jump jarringly into decision trees, they select a time slot, they confirm their appointment. We want to take that jarring aspect out of it. But if you're using epic decision trees, again, you go from this, click Make an Appointment, and you jump into this, and you're off and running. So we just wanted to ease that aspect of that. So we know in that world, the epic world, we can get the next available appointment times from that. And the problem with decision trees is you don't get to select appointment times until you're at the very end of it. So you can't allow somebody to select a time and then they get to the end of it and you're like, oh no, sorry, that one's not available anymore because you answered too many questions the wrong way. So we wanted to say, well, if you're picking a provider, one provider has an appointment in 2 weeks, another one has an appointment in 6 months. Which one are you going to pick? And I heard somebody say, well, I'm a dude and I don't like going to the doctor, so I'm picking the 6-month one. I still think you're going to pick the 2-week one ahead of that. Yeah. You know, people still avoid doctors when they can. But we know we can, again, get that availability. And this previous screen, we can pass in a provider ID that says, this is the doctor I am selecting or would like to see in this process. We can't pass the times, and we can't pass the patients. I would love to have a location page with the provider on it and know that the patient came from a knee pain page to get there. That tells you the 3 things they want to see the provider for. They tell you when, where, and what they want to get treated. We can't, unfortunately, there's just limitations right now. We cannot pass that into these Epic decision trees. We keep asking, maybe one day we'll be able to do that. So what we want to do, though, is just make it easy, right? Give them some sort of expectation of what they're about to get into when they click make an appointment. Again, we would just want to show this kind of next available appointment day. We don't want to give them the time choices, but just let people know there's availability. A lot of our services are full. And sometimes it's just easier to pick up the phone and try and get in a slot that gets open or get in line versus going through this big, long decision tree. So now we want to show the time, and then we're going to pop up a box that kind of confirms what they're looking at, shows that time, sets that expectation that you're going to be passed into another system and get through that path. So just making that folks feel better about the process and the experience versus just dumping them into something and then they never get out of it if they hit a dead end. So that's what's coming next. Hopefully those conversion numbers bump up from that 10% that we had before. We had some service lines were a lot higher. Some were a lot lower, but 10% was kind of that average. So.
Let me take this. Yeah, we just wanted to wrap here with just a few takeaways. Tried to be broad enough that they're not super narrow, but narrow enough that they have some teeth and hopefully are helpful. You know, the first thing we covered is just, you know, we think it's critical to have a product mindset as you're working on any big customer-facing digital platform. Agile helps with that, right? If you don't, you can't have one without the other. If you really think about something like a website as this is never done, we want to continue to improve this over time, really kind of sell that in, socialize that methodology. Agile is a great tool and really sets the standard from a web development standpoint. Next is, this licensed content performed and continues to, but important here that user experience matters, right? The content is just content. It's important, but it's got to be folded into a really strong user experience, a really strong customer experience that is going to be helpful, meaningful, and honor the customer's journey. And then finally, this just goes back to the last piece of data that Travis shared, and just to highlight that. So, as we all know, not difficult to measure everything that happens on your website, right? Like typically we can get through to they've clicked to do something, they've clicked to schedule, they've clicked to call, they've clicked to request an appointment, whatever that final step in the process is for your organization. That used to be what we measured, right? Until we were able to get those dots connected and be able to say, okay, now we know on average, it actually takes 9.5 clicks at Vanderbilt to get an appointment scheduled. And Travis mentioned this briefly, but we also are able to know what that looks like by service line for the website too, which is extremely helpful because now we can start to diagnose and actually get actionable with the data. So do what you can to get to real conversion. It's been extremely helpful, obviously, and is where we all need to be. Yep. So, and with that, I think we're open to take questions if you have them. Go ahead. We have to repeat the questions.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
The question is there a concern of showing availability and that kind of lead time to the next available appointment? It depends on the service line, I think. I think our dermatology is 9 months out right now. We may choose to not show that. But then we also need to have a discussion, do they even need a make an appointment button on their page? Because you get them to answer 10 questions after they click make an appointment, and then they discover that they're 9 months out. I'd rather show it on the front end from a patient and not throw them down that path where they're not going to choose an appointment at the end. To be honest, it just makes it easier on the consumer. Yep. Good question. Not really. I think, some folks really like it, and we haven't emphasized the health library in a long time. It's a little link in our footer down there, and because we know it's a dead end from a conversion standpoint, when they get into the health library, I think there's one phone number that we put just from a global standpoint in there, because it's just not well connected to our other content, and that's what we're trying to do is really connect the dots to the structured content that we had. So,
I think the data we shared today shows, I think, some positives in terms of the external point of view of like, okay, this seems to be working to some degree for customers. They're using it. They're finding it helpful. I don't think yet, because we're just sort of at the tail end and are still in process of rolling this out. Keep me honest here, Travis. I don't think we've done purposeful customer interviews about this content specifically yet.
Yep.
We do regular user testing on the site. We haven't sort of slotted that in, but will.
Yep. I will say this, our patient education department that pays that bill for the health library, they love it. So, yep.
There was a question over here.
It's not really what you were talking about, but you said something in the very beginning about acquisitions.
Yeah.
Just curious about your kind of pulling those users into your website. How long?
Yeah. Do you want to get a little twitchy here? Yeah.
It's a hot topic right now.
It is a very hot topic. And honestly, for those 3 hospitals, we first set up just almost a microsite first, and then figured out how to build out what we call hospital pages. So they're a little bit more advanced. Emily's shaking her head because I think she designed them for us. So we have those hospital pages. One of the big things is how do we, as an organization that has traditionally employed providers, show these now affiliated providers on the site, and that's probably going live in the next couple of weeks for us. They're not employed. They have their credential. They have their own clinics. Yeah. How do you do that? Yeah. So we're figuring that one out right now. But yeah, it's been a challenge. Yep.
You mentioned user testing on the site. What were some of the key takeaways or things that you found interesting?
I'm wondering if we should pass this to Emily.
I know, right? No.
So Emily, who's a UX researcher at Modea, is here in the front row, and so I'm going to let her answer that question.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. During that agile process, the user testing, we pick a work item that we did, the previous quarter. We go and look at the analytics. We pull up all of that, and we put it all together, and then we do user testing as well to confirm the analytics and to see what we need to do next, right? So whatever we learn goes into the backlog and gets put in, and then we may do user testing on the same thing I know we've user tested our location page 3 or 4 times now over the years, but it's that constant repeat of what do we need to do, how do we need to do it, and what's effective.
Yeah.
So.
Who asked the question? Can you raise your hand? Okay, hi. Emily, I love talking to people. So your question was, out of the user testing for the condition and treatment pages, what was the most interesting piece of the research? I'll go with the conditions and treatment since it's top of mind. When we first talked to users one-on-one, to folks in the Middle Tennessee area, and we started on Google, we said, hey, just get in a scenario of when you have a medical issue, or think of the last time you had a medical issue, and search on Google, show us what you would do. And the most interesting thing is that when we saw people searching by condition, Vanderbilt was actually competing with themselves on Google because of the multiple websites that Travis mentioned. One of those websites is a .org. You may be able to explain it better than I, but it's more for academics, professional, GME, all of that side of the house. But they also have a lot of condition and treatment content because medical professionals also care about that content. So the most interesting part was the .org content was coming up first in Google results because they had more content than the patient-facing website. So Vanderbilt was competing with themselves, and people were getting to that academic.org content in the website.
Research-based content.
Yes.
That's just not patient-friendly.
Yeah, they were getting to that page and saying, okay, I see that you treat diabetes, but I don't know what to do because I feel like I'm on the wrong site. And then they would get themselves back, go back to Google and find the right page. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, so how did you solve for that? Because we have
Well, that was part of the automatic condition and treatment pages solution, was we need to get more content on the patient-facing website, and we did it in an automated way so that content editors didn't leave. And we just allowed more content to be on that patient-facing website so that Google would index it, and you saw the numbers of how we did that. Yeah.
It's okay. Go ahead.
There's another question. Yeah.
I'll get you. Sorry. No, thanks.
Where our teams also manage those websites, it's a distributed content model, if you will. There are thousands of content editors there. We don't necessarily always tell them that what we're doing over here on the patient-facing side, so there's a governance question there that we tell them. Yeah. So we're trying to work on that and figure that piece of it.
There's a major compliance issue now. That's the point of view we're going to hopefully start taking.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have to remove analytics from your website. On the other hand, we can just leave them to their own chance.
Yes. Yeah. We're talking about that right now as that content is managed by amateurs.
It's okay.
And we have content experts that can do it better and can follow the governance. So yes. Yep.
Okay. I think we're probably about out of time. Travis and I can stick around if you'd like to ask us a question. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Okay.